from 2 to 4 p.m.
Conlon's Food Hall, proud sponsors of the afternoon show.
Time to talk with me, Michael Duffy, this morning, and my final guest this morning is the amazing author, and lots more besides. Emer Lawless is with me this morning. Emer, I'll give her a full title, Emer Geraldine Magella Lawless. Emer, very good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
How are you?
I'm okay this morning.
You got in despite the rain.
I did. Big change from yesterday.
Unbelievable. That's Ireland for you. You know what I mean? We do say 4 seasons in one day, and it can be so true.
Well, I just got back from a holiday in Munich, so it was 29 degrees there, so quite a change. Quite a change.
29 degrees is a delightful temperature, isn't it?
No, it's way too warm.
Oh, is
it? I spent the days hiding behind those rather large trees in Munich, trying to keep out of the sun.
Yeah, and what took you to Munich?
A break, a well-deserved break. It's been quite a journey, this book. So particularly the last 3 months, there was a lot of pressure to finally get the book out. It did take me 4 years to write it, so the completion was quite a thing.
And the book in question is titled Our Diligent Souls. Now, how many books? Is this your first book?
This is my first book, yeah.
And presumably it's something that you've been thinking about for a long, long time.
Well, I wrote plays when I was younger in the town, and had them performed in the town hall. And was always chasing a career as a writer, but just leered off into lots of different things throughout the years, and then eventually settled on trying to give it a go. So I didn't expect it to take 4 years. There's a lot happens in 4 years. Little nuances with friends and
life happens.
Life happens. Things that come up and where originally I would have thought like 4 years on a book is absolutely ridiculous, but
it's not uncommon though.
It's not uncommon, and it brings more to the book, I think, really, because over that span of time, so much is recorded. Within the simple things. So
you must be very proud of your achievement. Finally, you've got your book out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a massive sigh of relief, I presume. Number one. When you finally get it off to the publisher and then you get the finished product back into your hand and you hold it, and I'm holding a copy as we speak, Our Diligent Souls. We'll talk about the book in a second, what it's all about, where you can get it, etc. But 4 years, I was just reading at the weekend, there's a new film coming out Rupert Everett has made about Oscar Wilde. It's called The Happy Prince.
Very
and good. It's taken 10 years to make. So you're
to make the actual movie.
Well, to get funding and one thing and another, but it was a 10-year project that has taken 10 years to come to fruition. So 4 years, it's nothing really, is it? In comparison.
I was reading. I'm in the middle of reading Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Child, and if you look at the inside of the book, there was 8 years between him finishing the book and it actually being published. So. It's a difficult industry.
It certainly is.
Yeah, but
timing is crucial as well, isn't it? Sometimes a book can come out just at the right time. We think back of Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. For some strange reason, he just hit the spot with the release of that book. Had it been released 10 years prior or 10 years subsequently, it may not have been as successful.
I don't know. You're putting me in mind of Brendan Keneally and Mary Robinson when they were, in their kind of heyday here. And it seemed like every time they opened their mouth, they were able to capture the feeling of the country.
The essence of what is happening in society,
It was quite spectacular, the way they were able to, I've read quite a bit of Brendan Keneally's poetry now and never particularly enjoyed it. But to hear him speak, wow, that at that time there was something in that was very inspiring.
Similarly with like John B. Keane's plays, that he seemed to capture the essence of Irish life as well, and it's a great skill. Now the book,
this is very much about Irish life. It's
your book.
There are elements in it now that I don't think have been covered in literature yet, particularly the Greyhound track and the 6 to 4 to 3 to 1 to 2 to 5. Sorry, I'm saying that wrong. The sound of the dog track, the life and the customs that are there, and travels to Belfast Market, and I'd be a big market person. I love
markets are fantastic.
Oh, you never make a penny, but does your soul good. So,
but whenever you go to a different city or a different location, the first place of stoppage is the market.
Yeah.
Get to the market to sample the life and the produce, etc. There's something magical about markets.
Oh, there is. There always has been.
Yeah, the one in Belfast is particularly good as well. St George's.
St George's, it's great,
and it's in a fantastic building.
Yeah, well, that's it. It was purpose built, that building. If you look up and you see it's St George's Arcade, and then you've George's Arcade in Dublin on George's Street, just off Dame Street, and it again is a similar kind of red brick stone building with very atmospheric place.
Yeah, hopefully the planners don't get in and demolish it at some point.
Oh, here we go again.
Yeah,
but what's that Simon song? What's his name? The Car Lot. What is that song? You know what I'm talking about.
Paul Simon song.
Paul Simon song. Yeah. The lyrics escape me. Go on.
It'll come to me too.
Yeah.
But let's talk about words. And words in particular that form your book, Our Diligent Souls, Emer. This is a book. Now, where did the inspiration for this book come from? The whole concept of the book, the idea, the story, etc.
Well, I literally rocked up on the sofa and came up with one character and built from there. Really, it's that went against me in a sense because it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end like not all books, but like some orthodox books would have, where you describe the story to come, you fill the detail, and then you conclude beautifully.
Is it like a song without a chorus? It's not your traditional type of book.
Well, I don't know if there's that many of those
anymore.
Anymore, if you look at, I wrote a few names down here now. Carol Brunt wrote a book called Tell the Wolves I'm Home, and that is a perfect example of a story established, filled and completed beautifully. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was commissioned by the Arts Council, though she never wrote a book before, according to her book, But that's a perfect example of a 100% book, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
But books come in all sorts of forms. Mine, like Salman Rushdie that I'm reading at the minute now.
Do you do much reading?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I haven't had an awful lot of time to read with writing.
Yeah. I often wondered, as somebody who's writing a book, do you diverge off and read other books simultaneously, or do you try not to get distracted? Not
much, really. You're so involved in the process. It takes, the last thing you want to do is but then you might watch a movie, and something in the movie can be replaced and regenerated into the story you're telling in a completely different context, but that little spark of energy, that like a wind of magic realism, like a line or two.
Is it all consuming in a sense that when you're writing a book, you mentioned earlier it took 4 years, is it a case that you kind of put your life on hold until the book's completed, that you're not to be distracted, you're not to be annoyed?
I wrote an article for writers.ie last week, and I was saying that if I had a life, I would have lost it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have one in the first place, so...
I doubt it very much.
No, seriously.
You're coming from a big place.
I would have written anywhere between 40 to 80 hours a week, so absolutely all-consuming. And in those periods where people took it aside to proofread it or to help me edit it, I was lost. Another 4 years are over. That immense energy has gone into this.
Yeah. And do you feel
there's a wasteland? There's a oh my God, what do? I've got a whole day, and how do I fill it? So the thing about it is that I have great loyalty to the characters in the book. I love them. They're even the rascal. Morning has his own story to tell,
Are these characters based on real people or imaginary characters?
All but one. One is based, Odin is not based on my son, but my son has ADHD and Asperger's. So a lot of the antics, or the way he gets on, or the way he lives his life.
Yeah, it's been
is
inspiration.
Described to pick up on those aspects of ADHD and Asperger's. But he's a very different character to my son completely. Yeah. He's also a games development student, which is my son as well. But yet if you put the two of them beside each other, they're completely different characters.
Yeah. So how would you summarise?
The rest are completely fictional.
How would you summarise the book if somebody went to the bookstore and saw your book? And I have to say, it's a beautiful graphic image on the front. It's very colourful.
That was Spud Gun Designs from Stephen Dullahan from Dundalk. Designed that. He's based now in Drogheda, which is unusual, somebody from Dundalk being based in Drogheda. But
well, you're closer to Dublin, maybe.
Yeah,
it just takes the pain out of travelling that distance.
But the cover just is.
It is.
It finishes it beautifully.
Can I just say the use of the primary colours, blue, red and yellow, there's nothing else, and a little bit of white and black obviously, so you have the primary colours, and it's very eye-catching, which
absolutely
to me is very important for any product, that if somebody goes into a bookshop, this will attract the eye. And
I was actually surprised when I went into the bookshop at the amount of books that are, like, you look at sci-fi, they're all the same. They're not all the same, but they're all staying within this. That's going to be sci-fi. You're going to reach to that immediately. Yeah, but
there's a blasé
nothing. There's very little that stands out. You walk into Rose bookshop, and I guarantee you glance around the shop, your eye will be drawn to that. He's a very talented, but also the references in it are quite amusing, because there's a shipping containers in the background. Do you see that?
I do, and there's a woman here with a suitcase.
Really. Yeah, there's
lots of different images there.
I think that's your imagination now. Let me see.
Briefcase, look.
Oh yeah! Oh, wow.
You didn't spot that.
I didn't spot that.
There,
but no, it's a fantastic. He deserves awards for.
So cover aside, yeah, it's brilliant. But what's between the covers is even more important. And you did tell me off air that most novels rock off about 90,000 words, but you've gone way beyond that.
Yeah, well, I kind of missed that. What do you call it? That
you didn't know when to stop, did you?
I didn't know how. I didn't want to stop.
No, I suppose you can only stop when the story comes to a natural conclusion, isn't that it? Irrespective of how long it takes.
I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy called Ferdy McKenna, but great writer. But the Arts Council employed him just after year one. I handed them in the script, and they employed him to critique and what a wonderful critique! It really gave me so much to work on. Do you know? I had to. One of the main things were that the characters were not individual enough. Do you know what I mean? They were. But it was great then working on that. It made all the difference. Now every single character stands out, and is very relatable in the same hand. And very diverse and relatable.
So if somebody were to ask, and obviously people listening this morning, a brief summary of what the book is about.
Okay, well, that's not easy, but
I know you can go to the back of the book and read.
Yeah,
the summary is always there at the back of the book.
No, let me spell it out for you.
Yeah, please.
There's it's about a group of 30-year-olds who are very closely interconnected. The main character is Mark from Dundalk, who works in the shipping industry in Dublin, and he works originally in an old school shipping industry place, where Arthur, his boss, is more about keeping the clients he has and keeping his staff right, then building, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which so many businesses seem to need to do these days. But Mark's on just a slightly higher wage than the rest of the staff as a manager, and moves into a corporate company to work for them. And as soon as he arrives there, he has this really malicious character on his back the whole time, this supervisor, which is great because you don't always see an anti-antagonist or an anti-protagonist in a book, a strong but at least not that I can remember in a book reading. But he's brilliant. Now, Ferdy McKenna loved him. He said he was full of verve, and the story crackles when he's on Mark's back. But then the other side of that is Mark has a great social life, and
Is that detail in the book as well?
oh, absolutely,
Every,
yeah. And through some of his friends, he meets this intriguing young woman who's kind of out on her own in a sense, because she has no family in life. They're all deceased, and she's completely on her own. And
the love story in there as well.
Oh, huge love story. And you know, it's they bang heads, they miss each other. She, being on her own, she's risk averse, and wants to hold on to her friends and relationships. And she's actually called asexual at one point in the book by Elliot, one of his friends. That's because they've never known her to ever be with anybody, do you know? So,
Yeah.
bit of an unusual character. There are lots of unusual characters in the book. So it's mostly about adversity and getting through adversity, and diversions and interesting outings, and there is a spectacular end. So.
Oh wow, I love the sound of that. Now, is this a case when you read this book that you feel there could be a sequel, or is it all encompassing? Is the story done and dusted in one book?
No, it could go in another different life forms. You could take two of the characters and restart another a
Like a
diligence
spin-off.
and I very much felt that towards the end, that I wanted to do that. You know,
And
but
are you going to do that?
for now, I'm going to spend the next year on promotion, on short stories, poetry.
And
Anything
getting
that
this
will
book
get
out
my
there.
name out there as an author. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I have a responsibility to the characters in this book to bring it forward and to get it into as many hands as possible. You know, I do believe that it just needs a bit of wings. It needs a bit of wind beneath its sail. Do you know?
Yeah.
And
Well, it starts.
certainly it's a memorable, tender, warm-hearted saga almost. Do you know? And
well, that wind starts right here in this very moment.
Thank you.
That is
There's
very
a
moment.
there's a lot of Dundalk in it as well. A lot of, I think there's a 3-day wake in it, which is well, it's not specifically a wake from my family's history or anything, but the what would you call it? The anyway, it's a wonderful thing. You know, it's amazing. I lived in India for a while, and
You've travelled a lot, Emer.
I have indeed. But when
Where
I
was your
lived
favourite location?
New York, probably. To be honest, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well,
You
tell me
know,
about India.
India. Well, I was invited to a wedding there, and to me that was such an honour to be in another country and really experience that kind of detail. Do you know? I have friends from America here that, you know, I'd love to involve in something like that. I'd love to bring them in and get that real understanding, real intimate understanding of it. And I think in the book, that's a really important part of the book, the wake and the wedding, because not everybody knows what an Irish wake or a wedding is. We take a lot of it for granted, or for, you know, it's just, but
So
it's a very different experience, Dublin to Dundalk City to town. There's a lot of comparisons.
and down in
between
Kerry
city and
or in the
town.
west of Ireland, in rural Ireland as well.
My experience is Dublin, Dundalk, you know, city,
Yes.
town,
Yeah.
and their traditions are very different, and our traditions can be quite shocking, or not shocking, but
Drastically different.
drastically different.
yeah.
And there's a lot in it. I think in the book there's a lot for a younger reader, insofar as, you know, some people get to 35, 40 and never really experience death within a family. Do you know what I mean? But for the younger reader, it kind of prepares them
Yeah.
for
Death is inevitable.
those kind of occasions, it makes it,
Yeah.
you know,
The book sounds fantastic.
in saying that, I have to say there is one swear word in it.
Okay, well that's allowed.
And there's a kind of dirty joke. So
Look, we're
be
prepared for it.
warned.
But when you're writing this book, are you conscious that you're writing for a certain demographic of an age profile, or is this a book for all seasons, in a sense, for all ages?
It's for all ages. It
Anybody-
is. There's no sex or drugs in it.
Here, thrown away now.
Oh, go on.
I jest.
There's just a lot of human emotion. There's a lot of interesting reactions from people. I was thinking last night, it's funny when you read a book, or at least with this book, when I read it, you get an insight into what's happening with the characters beyond what they see. Do you know? So they're not always aware of why they're reacting the way they're reacting. Well, but you can see the connections and I don't like anything to be predictable. So the stories kind of swap landscape all the time. One minute they're in the factory, the next minute they're in the college, the next minute they're at the greyhound track, or it's. Well,
you're keeping the reader sort of alert and involved in a sense, aren't you?
Well, I think it's a very simple book to read. It's sweet and simple. You know,
140,000 words.
That wasn't simple.
It's a massive achievement, and as you said yourself, 40 to 80 hours a week.
People have said to me, people read the book and not know that it was 140,000 words.
Yeah.
Because I sent it on to them in electronic form. They just kept reading and reading.
Well, see, the thing about a good book is, irrespective of how long or how short it is, if you start reading a book and get involved, you just want to keep reading, don't you?
Yeah.
It's very hard to put, and I presume once you start reading this one, it'll be classified as a can't put down book.
I just hope it has big long legs.
Yeah, huge legs.
Huge bloody legs.
Well, there are a couple of long legs on the cover, so let's hope those legs are walking along the road to success for this book, because we want to see this book get out. Just tell me quickly, Emer, presumably you're going to have a big launch for this book
soon in the coming weeks. I'm still trying to organise that. It's my focus was on the online launch.
Yes.
When it was launched, I launched it at Easter.
In a Kindle version, is it?
In Kindle and hardback. You can buy it on globally on hardback.
Yeah.
And then the next stages are to create events to create more income around the book, and
more awareness.
More awareness around the book, to be able to send it to lots of reviews. You could send out to 50 reviewers and get one review, and at the same time it costs 12-13 quid to get them a copy to the reviewers. So it's a struggle.
You have to cherry pick though, don't you? Who you send it to?
Well, you have to talk to them and even at that you can't.
You just can't machine gun it out there, and hopefully.
No. But the aim is to get the book into the Irish wholesalers in the next 6 months.
Okay, but for the foreseeable future, if somebody wants to buy this book locally,
they can go to River Row Books.
Row River.
Row River Books.
River Books, here on Park Street.
On Park Street, or they can get it in the library, or you can download it onto your Kindle quite cheaply through Amazon. And I think at the beginning of April, it's the beginning of May now. I think next week it goes free on Amazon for two weeks.
Well, get in there and grab it.
So just download the book then and give it a read.
The book is called Our Diligent Souls. A delightful title, I have to say. It's by Emer GM Lawless, and the GM is not genetically modified by any stretch.
You're not the first one to say that now.
Well, you think of GM straight away, it's ingrained into our system now. But Emer GM Lawless of Dundalk. Yet another brilliant creative soul coming from Dundalk, which is brilliant to see, because I think this town is just awash.
It is.
Awash with great people. Can I just mention finally off air, or on air rather, that you're related to the great Jinx Lennon.
Oh Lord!
The well of creativity that man possesses.
Well, the book is dedicated to his mum and dad, who are the most inspiring people anybody could ever come across. This is
Jinx's parents.
Guardians of my soul since I was an infant. Fantastic people.
Well, through them, obviously.
More actually is the to me, in my mind's eye, she's the sweet pea in the book of anybody's reading.
Okay, well,
literally what it is a bunch of sweet pea.
We wish you the very best for this book. The cover's brilliant. The text is class, and I'm really looking forward to getting my teeth stuck into reading this over the coming months or weeks even. And let's hope keep us posted about the launch date.
I'll do that.
email,
I'll do
and-
that. I'll come in at a later stage now and a wee bit further on and give you a book or two to you know,
Give